Well, great. Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Matos. I am one of the uh, partner advocates here at WhoFi, and I have been for a while, so hopefully we look a little familiar to you. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm real excited to review some of the recent changes that we've made in the past few months. Thank you so much for joining and being willing to learn a little bit more about how WhoFi can help meet your guys' challenges and provide you with some solutions, and also to learn more about how we are responding to the feedback and enhancement requests that you guys send over our way. Our webinar today is recorded and we will share it out afterwards with you guys. So you're welcome to share it with any of your staff members or even review it later if you want to kind of follow along in your account. Throughout the webinar, feel free to drop any questions or comments that you have in the Q&A section or comments in the chat area. I love it when you guys let us know that, oh, that looks really good, and you guys can all like the same message so we can see if we are accomplishing your guys' needs. I do have a staff member, my colleague Luke is on the webinar today, so if I'm still talking and you message something, Luke will most likely be the one to respond to you guys in the chat or in your Q&A. And let's see. Awesome. If you guys have any trouble logging into your WhoFi account, you don't have to follow along, but you're welcome to. Feel free to reach out and the service team will be happy to help you log into your account. When you first registered for our webinar today, just like the last one, we asked you guys about your role, learn a little bit more about you, and what you were most interested in for today's webinar. I always appreciate you guys filling that out so we can help make sure that this webinar is addressing what you guys are looking to learn about. So thank you for filling that out. On our agenda today, we will cover the most recent changes that have been made to your WhoFi account. Pretty much everything that you'll see today in our webinar, you will already have access to in your account. The agenda for today will go over some new changes to headers in your WhoFi account, the integration pages, some registration changes, spaces, community calendar, and some updates to some services that you may or may not have access to, whether we have a payments pilot going on and a passes feature that has been added and launched a few months ago. So hopefully you got those emails. And yeah, okay, let's get started. So for our header updates, and you may have already noticed a handful of these things already happen in your account, but if you haven't, you should see these today. There were some requests to help unify some of the page views in your WhoFi account. The feedback told us that it could get kind of confusing about maybe the buttons weren't always consistently in the same place, like maybe the date picker was on the right on the calendar, and then in spaces it was on the left. And we just wanted to help unify that for any future enhancements that we've been working on. So we've added a few different shortcuts to our page headers, and I can demonstrate those over here. On the top right, on all of your WhoFi pages, you will have this new plus button. This will be a quick add section to where anywhere in your account you can get started by creating a calendar event, a booking of one of your spaces, or even add a pass reservation from anywhere in your WhoFi account. So those little shortcuts should be handy. You'll also see a magnifying glass option over here at the top right. So you can search on any page in WhoFi for something that you are looking for. Let's say that you're adding some data in question sets and then a colleague walks up to the front desk to check in for their space booking. So you can type in the person's name, find it really quickly, view the booking, and you can check them in by using that option. That search functionality is also available on the dashboard here. So the functionality is pretty similar there. We can type in that patron's name there. Awesome. We'll also see that some of the buttons have been unified in the format of similar icons. So we'll see on the community calendar that there are filter and month pickers that are similar to the same buttons that you would see in spaces and other areas in WhoFi. So we've helped to unify those buttons to be in the same place and to look the same as well. We'll see that your date pickers here are now a little bit more flexible than they used to be. And we'll also see in some areas where you're able to download the information, instead of a dropdown to change it from table to chart or table to CSV, you now have this handy button to simply click once and it will download the information. So you don't have to use the dropdown anymore. And lastly, for your headers, in various different areas of WhoFi, we've added new arrow buttons, so you don't always have to go to the timeline to change. You can use these arrow buttons to quickly flip between different timelines provided. And finally, thanks to popular requests, your Today button is now back. If we go to your bookings area, in case you weren't on today, your Today button is now back to quickly get you back to today's schedule. We'll also see this new option here to be able to quickly flip between your different schedules. We can click on this option here to quickly get over to your calendar events so you can switch between the schedules as needed. So hopefully those header changes will help unify the experience in WhoFi and help with your circulation or your planning staff to find those functions a little bit quicker than before. So that's our review of the headers. Let's see what's next. For our integration feature updates, we have, after we had launched the ILS verification for passes, where a patron might be looking at the website and they have to provide a library card to be verified before they can submit a request for your passes. Our library partners asked for the same exact logic to be applied to space reservations as well as registrations of your various different programs. So with this, we added the ability to restrict those to just your library card holders in different spaces or registrations that you would like to do this for. So for example, I've got this here to demonstrate for you. When your patrons are looking to book some of your spaces, you have the ability to choose which spaces you would like them to enter a library card before they continue on to submit their booking. So we can click on our times up here, and then we can provide a card number and a PIN, and then it will take them to the booking form to submit after they've been verified. If they do not have a valid library card, then it will simply send them over to it'll just say, reach out to the library support staff to help out with what's going on. We'll also see that available optionally on your registrations. They will be asked for the library card number and PIN before they get taken to the registration form. Now, this is able to be turned on per space and also be able to turn on per event. So you do have full flexibility on which events do or do not request this verification. The ILS verification is available for libraries that would like to reach out and let us know which ILSs you guys are using. So you're welcome to let us know in the chat if you're interested in this feature and what ILS you're using, so we can go ahead and look at getting that started for your account. At the moment, we have ILS verifications for Cersei Dynex and for Koha and for SIP2 for various other ILSs, but we are more than excited to help expand that list as needs arise. We hope that the ILS verification will help to reduce manual approvals for some and improve policy enforcement, and also provide more equitable and consistent access to all of your spaces and registration forms. Libraries that previously relied on manual checks can now automate eligibility and hopefully free up some staff time to help with the community in person. In some cases, our partners let us know that the hours of operation for your entire building might change throughout the year. And that might affect when passes can be picked up or when they can come to use your bookings for your various study rooms and conference rooms. So with this, we had added the ability for libraries to enter in seasonal hours into your library operations. So let me pull that up for you real fast. So over here, if we're in your account, you'll see a new option on the left. Well, it's not a new option. We'll click on location details here, And the new option is here under hours of operation. Your regular hours will start automatically. You'll already have those added to your account. But you're welcome to add a seasonal schedule down here. That way you can go ahead and schedule ahead of time your summer hours or even your winter hours, depending on your location. And you can add a schedule as this. So I've added some March hours to look a little bit different from our year around hours. And if we go to preview and impact, you can see those changes being made on the calendar immediately. So we can see in March, Tuesdays are closed, but outside of March, Tuesdays are now open. So you can add those to help schedule those ahead of time. Wonderful. We had received some feedback that library staff were verifying registered attendance via the emails that patrons has received. The libraries would have the patrons walk up to the program and show the email on their phone or their device to show that they had been registered for that program. And the feedback had let us know that it would be really handy if the total number of attendees was included on that email. So our update is just that. Now on those emails, we'll see an area for the attendees to be included in those emails for easier check-in processes at your library programs. Time slots under registrations used to be limited to only 4 options in a drop-down, but now you can enter in your own desired length of time. So where we can find that is under our events. We can come to create a new program, go to registration, and we'll see under time slots the ability to type in any desired length of time. You can type in 45 minutes, you can type in 200 minutes, and that'll provide extra flexibility when it comes to planning for your programs. Some partners were putting together month-long programs for passive activities or for summer reading programs, and they were wondering why the registration would close after the first day. So to make this a little bit easier, we have added a new option under your registration start and end dates. By default, the event will stop accepting registration once the event starts, which is why it would close. But now you have this option to end registration at the program end. So when the month is over, then registration will stop being accepted for those month-long programs. So we hope that that's helpful when it comes to planning for your long-term challenges that might happen at the library. Requests were made to include time when registrations would open for programs. Previously, it used to just be the date that the program would open to allow registrations to be submitted. And now it's available and visible for your patrons to see the time that the registration would open on 3 different areas on the calendar pop up, on the card view, and even on the event page itself for better communication. And I can demonstrate that for you real fast. If we get to our card view, we should see an example. Here we go. Our book club here will open at 1 o'clock on February the 26th. And because that's been set ahead of time, it's just already showing here and here down here at the bottom to better help with communication about when your registrations will actually open. Great. So next up is for spaces. For some of our WhoFi users, the spaces schedules didn't always match their building's hours of operations. Previously, you could only add hours but not specify which days of the year that they were being affected for your spaces. So we have enhanced the scheduling module for your Spaces custom schedules to now allow the addition of alternative schedules from the ones that are already made. We can see that in your account by going to Setup and Advance. And down here we'll open our custom schedules. And if we edit my schedule for my computer lab, you'll have the ability to create a new schedule and assign it to various different spaces. And you'll be given a default schedule, and you can edit that for the whole entire year. But for examples where you know that your space is going to be closed for renovations, or maybe you just have a different schedule, you only want morning appointments, you're welcome to create various different schedules to make sure that those are closed ahead of time instead of sending yourself a reminder to do that by hand. So by creating these different schedules, we can see that for the month of February, we're accepting registrations, but for the month of April, it's completely closed. We're not accepting any bookings for this space, the computer lab, because we've created this schedule. So this helps to schedule ahead of time any of those space closures for renovation or just for adjusting your hours for any busy seasons. And libraries no longer have to manually adjust the hours throughout the year. You can schedule those ahead of time to save some time and reducing errors for staff and patrons in the future.
Actually, Paula had a question about the time feature. It says it seems to
Yeah,
default to the time we make the calendar event. Is there a way to keep it at midnight?
time feature seems to default to the time we make the calendar event. Let's see. If we go to when we were creating that new program earlier, if we go to add registration and show up all of our options, under start and end times, we'll see that when it's chosen to immediately, you will see that midnight option. But if you choose any of these other options here, you can change the time here. We can say 1 month before at, let's say, 9 a.m., and then the registration will open at that time that's desired. Hopefully that answers Paula's question. Thank you, Luke. If that doesn't, Paula, let me know if I need to answer something else. Thank you for asking. We have been hearing from libraries that organizational bookings, such as scout troops or community groups, don't always fit cleanly into the patron based workflows. When an organization reserves the space, the staff would like to see the organization's name to appear on the booking reservation and the community calendar if it's been added, rather than the patron's individual name. So we can see this quarter, we have introduced organization as a structured default field that can be enabled per room. When it's used, it will automatically display the organization's name wherever the reservation appears. I have this turned on for my study room number 2 over here, and if we get to the end of the page, we'll see a new default field here for organization name. Now, by default, this is turned off, so you can go through your spaces and turn this on wherever you would like to. And when you have it turned on, it will present as a default field. So you can add the question here, and we'll see it on our booking form here. When that is filled out by your patrons or by your staff, the information for the organization's name will display on the booking as such. We'll see over here that this booking has the organization WhoFi on top of it, but when we hover, we can see also the patron's name. When that box is turned on and the patrons fill it out, the information for organization will land here under this field, and you're welcome to use that for organization purposes. This will make it easier for staff to answer common questions for patrons and also improve clarity at service desks without having to require custom workarounds. If someone had walked up and said, "Hey, I am checking in for my WhoFi booking," we can type in the name of the organization and show that in the search results there. Some
Actually,
of our,
sorry,
yeah,
Sarah is asking, where did you make the change to default?
to default to the organization booking. Let me see. Yeah. So if we go to spaces and then spaces, it'll take you to a list of all the added spaces. We'll go to edit the space that you want organization to show up on. And I'm going to scroll a little slower. We'll go down to the bottom for booking forms here. And you'll already see organization name show up. And by default, it should be off. And you can turn that on for various spaces that you're looking for. Hopefully that answers your question. Thanks, Luke. Awesome. Some of our partners had requested a new rule to be added to your spaces. This new rule will help enforce a minimum booking time for your spaces. This might be helpful if you know that a makerspace needs a minimum of 1 hour to learn and work the station, maybe have a staff training for that makerspace. You can find that new rule under Setup and Advanced. We'll go down to Makerspace and Space Rules. And if we edit any of your rules or add a new set of rules, you'll see this new option here by default turned off to add a new rule for cannot book less than so many hours in a single booking. That also might be helpful to reinforce any of your policy rules that you already have in place. So you can turn that on and assign it to the different spaces that you need that to be enforced for. Some feedback had expressed the need to better communicate the space's rules earlier in the booking process. So now, specifically on kiosk mode, we'll see that the booking rule set for booking in advance, this one down here, booking must be made so many days in advance, that this one is now being communicated at the top of our kiosk mode links. And I'll show you where to get this here in a second, but I wanted to show you that it shows us here, and we have to click on there to get to the next available date to book it. Kiosk mode now also has consolidated links for just one reserve button instead of many reserve buttons. So if we go to a future date, we'll see one reserve button instead of many listed in the schedule. If you're looking for your kiosk mode links, we can go to Spaces and Spaces. And here you'll have a specific kiosk mode link URL available for all of your different spaces. And you can display that as the space's schedule in front of the space itself. Some other feedback had asked for the ability to sort the spaces to your desire. Maybe you added a new study room later, and now it's kind of out of order to your desired order. So you can now reorder your spaces to your desire. We can click on this button up here at the top to reorder your spaces, and you can drag and drop your options using these arrows over here. It will then save and display that order as the external side and the internal side as well. So by reordering your spaces, you can find your spaces quicker and provide a more intuitive workflow for both your staff and your patrons looking to book your spaces. Great. For our payments, we're currently in pilot mode for our payments feature. So if you're curious about that, you're welcome to let us know in the chat and we can let you see a little bit more about the payments pilot. We received some feedback on how to improve the invoice communication process. So thanks to those pilots, our invoices now look just a little bit more professional and include more clear communication. When a invoice is made in your WhoFi account, we'll see on this page here a demonstration of the email that will be sent over to your patrons. They can click to view the invoice, and when they view the invoice, it looks like this. And you're able to send that off to your patrons and help them get paid for some of your study rooms or your various different fees that might happen around the library. It was also requested to make it easier to connect an invoice to a space's booking. So we can see that over here. Let me show you. If we go to our bookings schedule, if you have payments turned on in your account, most of you probably won't, but you can let us know if you're curious in seeing that pilot. If you have payments over here on the left, you'll see this option to include an invoice in the booking. So this is what it looks like after you've tied an invoice to the booking, and you can quickly get to that invoice and see that it's been sent and we're kind of awaiting payment for that booking itself. But if we go back to spaces to add an invoice, you'll have a nifty button over here to add an invoice, and you can create that invoice in here and get that sent off.
There's a question, Ashley, that says, is it possible to generate an invoice even though we don't charge for our spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. We can do a short payments demo right now. If we go to payments and invoices, well, actually, let's start in your fees. In your fees is where you're able to create any various different fees, whether that's for coffee or for your spaces or for something else that might be happening in the library that's not related to your spaces. You can simply add those fees here, and then you can attach those to the different invoices that you create. So if we go to create an invoice, you'll see all of those items available here. and you can adjust those and send off that invoice like that. So, short answer, yes, you can. Great question. Now that Passes is out of pilot format and available for general use, we heard of needs for more flexibility on how passes are set up. Our partners told us of a need for a countdown pass as well as a coupon pass to better circulate your different passes. So, passes now have a new setting to help set a pass as a countdown or a coupon pass. If we go to passes and passes, we can edit a pass or open a new pass. And you'll see a new option here for a countdown pass. And you might be asking, what's a countdown pass? If your library has ever purchased passes in bulk, let's say 150 passes for this one venue, and once you've passed all of them out, you're out. You can't circulate them anymore. The countdown passes will allow the system to start counting down how many passes you have from the number that you provide here for 150. And once it's set to 0, passes will no longer circulate and it will be removed from the menu for your patrons to book. So that'll help to automate that number of how many you have left over. We'll also see over here on the menu how many you have left. So you can quickly see at a glance how many you have left from the total number that you purchased. We'll also see that option over here for a coupon pass. So what's a coupon pass? How's that different? We heard from some libraries that you might purchase a booklet or a mass number of passes, but these passes are dated. They're specific to the date that they belong to. So coupon passes will help circulate as a physical pass, but ensure that nobody needs to return them and that you can get those circulated day by day by day. Awesome. Okay, great, great. So that is our update for passes. So lastly, we'll cover our community calendar updates. I heard that I saw from your guys' registration list that a lot of you guys were really excited for this new attendance breakdown option. Partners had been asking for greater insight into who is attending your programs, not just total attendance counts in some cases. So, while the age group data isn't a requirement to be sending off to state reporting, libraries have been asking us that it is essential for local decision making and for advocacy purposes. So, with this, we have provided you with a way to define the age groups at a program level to help gain clarity that you guys are desiring. So, I can show you how it works real fast. If we jump back into our testing account, on the left, we'll go to Setup and Advanced. And down here, we'll open Calendar Settings. And you'll see a new box down here for Age Group Breakout. Now, by default, this is turned off. So, you can come in here and turn that on with that checkbox. And just make sure you hit the save button down here at the bottom. And when we go back, after you turn that on, you'll see a new option here for age group breakout. So this age group breakout here will be blank by default, but for example, today I have added adult and children as a way to break out the attendance. You can add more attendance age groups as you needed for teens or the elderly. You're welcome to add those there. And if we go to your programs, we can see on this program here that for all of your programs, now you'll have this new breakout here for children and adults. I said that backwards, but children and adults. And the total provided in each of these boxes will be totaled here. And then this number will be sent off over into your question sets and your reports. So you can provide that age breakdown here for better advocacy for reporting purposes. And I can show you on a program that doesn't have attendance saved quite yet that you can provide it as a breakdown here, or you can simply provide it as a total. Kind of up to you how you would like to do that per program. And then to receive the information, we can see the breakdown currently in the archive. If we go to archive and use our fancy dancy new download button over here, I actually have it already downloaded over here on the left somewhere. Let me find it. Well, I lost it. One second. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. I love your guys' patience. When you download from the archive, you'll be provided with all of the options that you're used to being provided with the archive, but you'll now see that breakdown over here on the right. So for example, our book club here, we'll see that the total was 9 because the breakdown over here on the right for children and adults was 5 and 4. So you'll see that breakdown for reporting options here in the archive. But to be clear, this is the number that's sent over into your question sets for state reporting purposes. Great. So that feature will help libraries be able to tell more detailed stories about who you're serving and help to support more data-driven decisions and help with community outreach as well. There was some feedback on making it easier to cross-reference the archive with the reports that were being provided. We had some conversations with our library partners telling us that the archive, there was a discrepancy with the other type. So let me show you. When you are creating your programs, this other option here is saved for non-programs. So anything that does not belong in your reports, if you change your type to other, it will remove it from the reports and still display it on your calendar as such. However, when it comes to reporting purposes, you want to kind of make sure that the reports are looking good. So by default, we have set the filter for the archive to ignore that other option here. But whenever you need it, you're welcome to turn it back on and hit apply and see your archive include those programs that are set to type as other. Hopefully that makes sense. Partners had let us know that some partial closures that were added to their account could be communicated better on both the internal and external calendars. So, as a reminder, we can go to Setup and our location detail options here to add various different holidays, such as President's Day, if you were closed for that, or if you know that you're kind of opening for different hours for a different day, kind of for partial closures, you can add those here by going to Add Closure and describe it here for the time and date, or you can choose all day. You guys probably already know that. And if you didn't, congrats. So the request was when holidays are being added here for them to be communicated a little bit easier to your patrons. So let me show you. On the the patron facing side, the closures would display as closed all day, and we have now improved it to mention partially closed so that they don't think that your library is closed all day long. So we can see that message here that you're only closed from 8 to 12 for tomorrow. So those are now being better communicated on both your internal and your external calendars for your staff and your patrons.
Actually, we've got a question going back to age ranges for a second. So it says, are the age groups just for reporting, or can they be used for advertising too? For example, when I run a children's program, I have to choose an age range, but sometimes I want it to be open to all children ages 2 to 15.
Yeah, that's a great question, Abigail. Thank you for asking. If we go to the commute calendar, I can demonstrate what I think the issue that you're running into, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. When you're creating your program, you'll see that this age drop down here, they don't always line up with how you'd like to advertise your program. And when you choose an option here, it does specifically say children 0 to 5 on the patron facing side. So, to help alleviate this and to advertise your program as you would like it, we'll go to your website option, and here we can choose from different audiences. Now, to add an audience for that new option, I think it was, what was it, 2 to 12 maybe? Sorry, I lost it in the chat.
2 to
You can
15.
click on, thank you, 2 to 15, great. We can click on add here, and if we go to add an audience, we can say ages 2 to 15. And when we add that here, we can go ahead and assign it to the program. We have to hit the swirly icon to refresh and go grab that new one. And then you can assign it to the program. When you have an audience saved to the program, it will then display as the audience to your patrons instead of the 0 to 5 here. This dropdown here is purely for state reporting purposes so that we can sync the information into reports and also sync it over into your question sets. But for advertising purposes, you're welcome to use that audience here to override that option for when your patrons see it. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for
And then
asking.
Sarah's asking, would that be used for things like outreach events at a farmer's market or local festivals?
Yeah, good question. You're welcome to use the audience as an outreach for maybe like off-site programs. But if your question is how do you describe, and you can tell me if I'm making a wrong assumption, we can go to site and choose offsite, and you can provide an alternative location here. So if you're having a program at like the farmer's market, you can say farmer's market and then like provide the address afterwards. Is that what you were looking for maybe? Cool. Awesome. If that doesn't answer your question, let us know. Sweet. I love the questions. Okay, so we just covered closures. So up next, if you've ever created a program that starts in 1 month and then kind of ends in another month, maybe some of those like longer challenges like summer reading or even winter reading, you may have noticed that the program didn't always appear in the second month, but that has now been remedied. We can go into January and see that our winter reading program starts in January and ends in February, and you can now see it in both of those patron and staff facing sides. So that makes it easier to to advertise your multi-day programs or your promotional challenges. And lastly, for the community calendar, we have made it more clear when a program is set to be an all-day program. So you can use this fancy option in the calendar to set a program to be all day by using this box here. And when you choose it to be all day, it will display as such on your patron side. The time has been removed from the title here, and we'll see that it is a all day program here. And when we look at more details, it'll say the same thing over here, all day for the time. So just some little improvements there to help communicate that. Awesome, possum. Great. That concludes our community calendar updates. Any other questions on the community calendar before we look at the next thing? Guys, for our webinar today. We've got about 15 minutes left. Are there any other questions that I can help answer before I let you guys go? And thank you so much for joining. It's been a blast to get to show you guys the updates. I love getting to hear you guys' impressions on them as well. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. That's everything. So you guys are welcome to go unless you guys have any questions. I'll stick around for a few more minutes and I can answer those questions. Thank you guys. Of course. You guys are amazing. You guys are easy to teach too. Any other final questions? If you think of anything, feel free to throw it in the chat or you can email us at support@whofi.com.